Hello, Maria here. Welcome back. And today I'm going to talk about why did I attract a narcissist into my life? It's a question I've been asked many, many times, and I'm going to cover 5 surprising reasons. Now, if you're in a relationship with a narcissist, the chances are very high that you've asked yourself this question, not just once, but 1,000 times. But you'll have gotten so deeply mired in the treachery of narcissistic abuse that you can barely think straight anymore, and you'll think it's all your fault. And I've talked about that in a previous video and been very clear with you why it's not. So when you end up with a narcissist, very often you've been targeted by a very cunning person who knows what to look for and how to connect very deeply with you to make you believe that they're your soulmate or the love of your life. But when you realize all that, you will find yourself standing back and wondering, why me, why me, why me? So today I want to share with you some possible answers that you may not have considered that might help you to understand why you possibly have attracted a narcissist. So the first one is, they are a reflection of your deeply buried trauma. Now, this school of thought is that narcissists are a reflection of deeply buried trauma that we're carrying inside ourselves, and we will not be free from attracting them until we heal that inner trauma. And I think there's a lot of truth in this. I work with people all the time to help them heal inner trauma, and it could be inner trauma that's buried from childhood. You know, much of the work I do is involved with helping people to tune into those old traumas and giving them a way to see them differently and to release them and to heal them. And such trauma and beliefs about yourself are mostly buried in your subconscious, and that's basically the engine running the show of your life, but you may not even know it, because it actually takes a great deal of inner reflection and self-analysis to try and figure it out for yourself. So I always recommend that you learn as much as you possibly can about narcissistic abuse and recovery by reading books, blogs, looking at videos, so that you can start to understand what you've really been dealing with and learn the truth. The truth is that it's not your fault. You didn't deserve it. And I highly recommend, if you're really struggling, that you find a therapist who understands NPD and abuse, who can really help you to recover. And if you want to connect with me, the links to connect with me are below this video. Now, healing is possible. It's always important that you come back to loving yourself unconditionally for who you are and refusing to be treated like a worthless person. But this is what happens when you've dealt with a narcissist. You end up feeling worthless, like you are to blame for everything, like you are not good enough. It's important for you to know that healing is possible. And one of the core things that I always tell people is so important is to just come back to loving yourself unconditionally for who you are and refusing to be treated like a worthless person, because you're not a worthless person. You've just now been brainwashed into feeling that way by a very evil, nasty, narcissistic person. So it's about really changing your thinking and throwing that idea out and getting a dose of new reality, which is, it's not your fault, it never was, and you don't deserve any of this crap. Okay. So before I get into number 2, let me just say, if you're liking this video and it's resonating with you, please hit like, and I'll appreciate that. If you have any comments, by all means, please comment. Okay, so reason number 2 for attracting a narcissist into your life is you were born into it. Now, this is another valid school of thought, that if you were born to a narcissistic parent, you're very likely to attract a narcissistic partner. And I've talked about that in previous videos too. What happens here is you subconsciously pick up all the flawed behavior and you unwittingly accept it as normal. So you have no real benchmark for what is normal And this learned behavior seems normal for you, except for one thing, and that is that your gut feeling is telling you that it's wrong. And you know that you're unhappy. Somewhere deep inside you, your inner being, your wise inner self, knows that this is not normal, knows that this is wrong. Now, many people I've worked with have said that they were shocked to learn that their family was so dysfunctional, and they only realized this when they were exposed to other families whose behavior was so different to their own family. And this made them realize that actually it wasn't their fault. So realizing that can be quite cathartic. So if you had a dodgy childhood, dodgy, by dodgy, that's a British word, you might not know it if you're an American. I know I have a lot of Americans in my groups and who follow me. I mean, dysfunctional, abusive, perhaps it could have been narcissism, it could have been alcoholic parent, addict parent, any of those things, dysfunctional. If you've had that, then how do you know what a normal life would have been like? So have a think back over your relationship, and have you joined those dots up that, hey, my parents were dysfunctional. No wonder I ended up where I did. Connecting those dots is really important, because it can start to help you to make sense of your life, and you'll understand where certain things that you needed weren't available to you, weren't given to you. But you can heal yourself. You can heal the inner child, which is something I do with everyone I work with. It's incredibly powerful. You can find ways to heal. I always want people who watch my videos to know that if you are suffering and struggling, there are ways to heal. So please hear that, okay? Now, when it comes to healing and looking back over these possible reasons why you have attracted a narcissist, it is really vital to dig into these painful lies that you've come to believe about yourself, as in, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve love. All of these are common threads that come up with most of the people I work with when they're really honest with themselves, and we can really dig beneath the surface. And you can come to believe a different reality, because then you can start to rebuild the foundations of your self-worth, which has been basically destroyed by the narcissistic abuse that you've suffered. So you know you're not in the wrong, and your emotional pain is screaming out for you to listen to it, to heed it, and take action to get yourself out of the abusive relationship. Or if you are out of it but still suffering from the fallout, then get the help you need to start healing. And when you start thinking about this, about how you can heal and what you need to do, you're taking the first steps to truly healing. Now, reason number 3 for attracting a narcissist is you're a highly sensitive person or an empath. And I've talked about this in my red flag books. I think it's red flag number 14, but I'm bringing it up here again. It's an undeniable fact that narcissists can spot you a mile off, and they will target you. The vast majority of my clients are either HSPs or empaths. And being an empath myself for the most part, I know how we can feel others' pain, and I always want to help them. But this kindness in the hands of a narcissist will destroy you. Narcissists know that you will be more loving and forgiving and keen to help them heal, even though they don't, in fact, ever want to be healed. They will feed you sob stories about their abusive childhood, which may or may not be true, but it's all designed to get the sympathy vote for them. You'll keep making excuses for them. You'll keep going back to them and keep hoping in vain that they'll change. And you also think very often that you have enough love for both of you and you'll get through this. But trust me, you won't. There's not enough love in the whole world to heal a narcissist. Now, if you're one such lovely person, you need to see the reality of what you are dealing with. You need to grow a thick skin and get out of the relationship for your own sanity. And of course, if you are out of the relationship, but you're still suffering the emotional fallout, you need to learn as much as you can about the cycle of abuse and why it happened to you in particular. What can you learn from it? What do you need to know about yourself? What's that lesson that you need to learn to protect yourself going forward? So those are questions you want to think about and really dig in. And you'll be surprised at the answers you might come up with, okay? Now, reason number 4, and this one's an interesting one, is that you have something to learn and they are your teachers. And this is kind of where you have to float up above yourself a little bit and kind of look at this from a more spiritual perspective. It can be quite a tough one to get your head around, but I also believe there's a lot of truth in this, because if I put my spiritual hat on, I am a great believer in bigger picture thinking. I've co-authored 3 books on spirituality. One is called Reincarnation in a Nutshell, Fate and Karma in a Nutshell, and Life After Death in a Nutshell. So I very much believe that there is a much bigger picture going on in our lives than just this one. I believe we live many times. We come back time and time again to learn different things. So if you're willing to bring that perspective into your thinking, then it can take you to a whole new level of understanding. But I do understand that that is not for everyone, because a lot of people just don't believe in anything but the here and now, and that's absolutely fine. You know, I always try to meet people where they are. But even if that is the case, there's still a wise inner part of you that's undeniable. We call it your higher self. So you can actually tap into that part of you, that wise part of you, and find out, what does that wise part need to know? What does it, you know, what does it want you to know that you need to know? And many of the clients that I've worked with have actually said that their narc experience taught them a lot about themselves. I've had some people have really profound, deep revelations about themselves that they learned as a result of the narcissistic relationship. Now, this kind of realization and self-awareness doesn't usually come until much later on their healing journey. And when they've discovered that by allowing this abuse to continue, they were not loving or valuing themselves. Now, when you reach that level of clarity, a part of you can see that, well, yeah, maybe they have taught me something. It's really important for you to understand that if you allow the abuse to continue, what you are doing is not loving or valuing yourself. You must get to that understanding. And that's when you decide, I don't want to live like this anymore. That's when your enough is enough moment can come. But coming back to what, if you are further on your journey and you can look back and you've got that clarity, so when you look back, you may realize that they taught you that you needed to step up for yourself, to stop accepting substandard relationships, to stop accepting toxic behavior, to stop allowing yourself to be demeaned and diminished. And those are powerful lessons for you to learn. So have a think about that and, you know, put it in the comments below. Have you had any surprising insights about this yourself? So reason number 5, and it's a little bit of an extension of the one we've just talked about. Reason number 5 is a deep, innate lack of self-love. Now, I've kept this for last because it's actually the most important one, and it runs through all the others that go on constantly during your narc abuse life. You've unwittingly allowed yourself to be abused, and it boils down to your inability to love yourself for the unique, amazing person that you are. When you don't love and respect yourself enough, it's easy for a narcissist to chip away at your sense of self-worth. And then they will twist it round and they will convince you that you are worthless. Now, this doesn't just happen to people who have low self-worth or codependent tendencies to begin with. This can happen to people who are usually super confident, outgoing, who have healthy self-esteem. then it's all the more shocking to them to one day wake up and realize that they're a shadow of their former selves. They can't understand how they went from being happy, confident, and sure of themselves to being virtual strangers in their own bodies. And this is how powerful narcs are at manipulating people and destroying who they were. So if this has happened to you, then you have to fight your way back. You have to start believing in yourself again. You have to believe you're worth more than this. You have to start believing in your own power to heal. Because as I always say, you can heal, and people do it all the time. So how you actually heal really depends on you. Do you want to go it alone? Do you want to get books and learn all you can about it and heal that way? Do you want to join a support group? Absolutely, I recommend that you do that. I have several Facebook support groups. Links are down below if you'd like to come and join us. Do you want to get a therapist? A lot of people see the value in getting a therapist. Some people don't. It just depends on what works for you and what's right for you. If you want a therapist, connect with me, links down below. I work with people all the time to help them to heal. The important thing for you is to make a healing plan and start taking steps to make it happen. When you do that, commit to learning all that you can about the cycle of abuse so that you can know the signs and never ever fall for it again. Now, talking about self-worth and healing, I have got some videos that I think if you're in this place of, wanting to understand self-love and you need more insight on self-love, self-worth, and so on, I'll put some links below for you to watch those videos on self-love and and healing. The bottom line is leaving a narcissist is never easy, and most people do go back at least once. In fact, the average is 7 times. Now, I've known people go back over 30 times. And one of the things that can be really difficult when you do go back is how to handle judgmental people. Now, you go back because you're not ready to heal, because you don't know how to break the trauma bond, and because going back is, at least in the moment, less painful for you than staying away. But it can be really hard because you get a barrage of criticism and judgment from other people. So in my next video, I'm going to share with you how you can understand why all this happens and how you can handle judgmental people. So if you've gone back again and again to the narcissist and you're still in that vicious cycle, then you definitely want to come and watch the next video, okay? So thank you very much indeed for watching, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now.